In the quiet of night, they entered his world, but he was already waiting in the dark. It was a cold evening in the small town of Elmwood, where nothing much ever happened. The streets were empty after dark, with only the occasional car passing by under the dim streetlights. Alex, a young man of 22 with short brown hair and a thin build, sat in the driver's seat of an old blue sedan that had seen better days. The car was parked on a quiet side road, hidden behind some overgrown bushes. He tapped his fingers on the steering wheel, thinking about how they got to this point. Alex had grown up in Elmwood, a place where jobs were scarce and dreams seemed to fade away like the morning mist. He worked part-time at a gas station, pumping fuel for people who were just passing through. It wasn't enough. His rent was due, and he had bills piling up like leaves in the fall. That's why he turned to small crime stealing from unlocked cars or shoplifting snacks from the corner store. But tonight was different. Tonight, they were going bigger. Next to him sat Jamie, a 20-year-old woman with long blonde hair tied back in a ponytail. She wore a black hoodie and jeans, trying to look tough, but her hands were shaking a little. Jamie lived with her mom, who was sick with some kind of lung problem that the doctors couldn't fix without expensive medicine. Jamie had dropped out of community college to take care of her, working odd jobs like cleaning houses. But the money never lasted. She needed this robbery to pay for the next round of treatments. Deep down, she felt guilty, but desperation made her push those thoughts away. In the back seat was Sam, the quiet one of the group. He was 21, with dark hair that fell over his eyes and a scar on his cheek from a childhood accident. Sam didn't talk much. He had learned to pick locks from watching online videos, back when he thought it might be a useful skill for something legal. He lived alone in a tiny apartment above a garage, fixing cars during the day. Sam joined because Alex was his best friend, and he didn't have much else going on. He stared out the window at the dark trees, wondering if this was a bad idea. Alex broke the silence. "Okay, listen up. I've been watching this place for weeks. The old man, Mr. Harlan, lives alone. He's blind, lost his sight in some war years ago. People say he has a fortune stashed away, cash from his army pension or something. He doesn't trust banks, keeps it all in the house." Jamie nodded slowly, her mind racing. She remembered hearing stories about Mr. Harlan at the diner where she sometimes waited tables. He was a veteran, lived on the edge of town in a big old house that looked like it hadn't been painted in decades. Kids avoided it on Halloween, saying it was creepy, but no one ever said he was dangerous, just old and alone. "How do we know where the money is?" Jamie asked, her voice soft. Alex leaned back. "I talked to a guy who used to deliver groceries. Said there's a safe in the bedroom. We go in quiet, get it, and leave. He can't see us, right? We'll be like ghosts." Sam grunted in agreement, but he felt a knot in his stomach. He had broken into a few places before, empty sheds, abandoned cars, but a house with someone inside. That was new. He checked his tools. In the small backpack, a lockpick set, flashlights, gloves, everything was ready. They waited until midnight. The clock on the dashboard ticked slowly. Outside, the wind rustled the leaves, and a dog barked far away. Elmwood was asleep. Alex started the car, driving slowly without headlights until they were closer. They parked 2 blocks away, in a spot where no one would notice. Walking to the house, their footsteps crunched on the gravel path. The air was chilly, making Jamie pull her hoodie tighter. The house loomed ahead, a 2-story wooden building with peeling white paint and shutters that hung crooked. No lights were on. The yard was overgrown with weeds, and an old swing creaked. And the breeze died at the back door. Sam knelt down. The lock was simple, an old pin tumbler type. He inserted the tension wrench and the pick, feeling for the pins. Click, click. It took longer than he wanted, maybe 2 minutes, but the door swung open with a soft groan. Inside, the house smelled musty, like old books and dust. They stepped into the kitchen, closing the door behind them. Flashlights on, beams low to the floor. The kitchen had yellow linoleum floors and cabinets that sagged. A clock ticked on the wall, loud in the silence. They moved to the living room. Furniture was covered in plastic sheets, like no one sat there anymore. Walls had faded. Pictures. Mr. Harlan in uniform, young and stern, with other soldiers. Medals pinned to a frame. Alex whispered, "Upstairs for the safe." The stairs creaked under their weight. Each step seemed to echo. They paused halfway, listening. Nothing but the wind outside and the hallway upstairs. Doors lined the walls. They picked the master bedroom. Inside, a big bed with rumpled sheets, a dresser, and under the bed a metal safe. Just like Alex said, Sam got to work again. The safe was combination locked. He listened with a stethoscope tool, turning the dial slowly. Tumblers clicked. It opened after 10 tense minutes. Inside, stacks of cash, old bills bundled with rubber bands. Also, a few papers and a small box. Jamie's eyes widened. "That's a lot. Let's grab it and go." But as they stuffed the money into bags, a floorboard creaked downstairs. They froze. Was it the house settling or something else? The creak from downstairs lingered in their minds. Alex, Jamie, and Sam stood still in the dim bedroom, flashlights trembling in their hands. The safe was open, stacks of cash spilling out into Jamie's bag. But the sound had stopped them cold. The house was old, Alex told himself. Old houses creak, floorboards shift, pipes groan. It didn't mean anything, but his heart pounded anyway, like a drum in his chest. He glanced at Jamie, her face pale in the flashlight's glow. She was clutching the bag so tight her knuckles were white. Sam, crouched by the safe, had stopped moving. His eyes darted toward the door. The silence felt heavy, like it was pressing down on them. "Let's just go," Jamie whispered, her voice barely a breath. "We got the money. Let's not push it." Alex nodded, but something made him pause. The creak, it wasn't just random. It had a weight to it, like a footstep. He motioned for Sam to close the safe quietly. Sam did, turning the dial back to lock it. The click sounded loud in the quiet room. They stepped toward the bedroom door, moving slow to avoid more creaks. The hallway was dark, the air thick with the smell of dust and something else, maybe mildew, maybe something worse. Their flashlights swept over peeling wallpaper, a faded pattern of flowers that looked gray in the dim light. The floor was covered in a thin, worn carpet that muffled their steps. But every few feet, a loose board groaned under their weight. Alex led the way, his flashlight beam shaky. He kept thinking about what he'd heard about Mr. Harlan. The guy was blind, sure, but he'd been in the army. Maybe he wasn't as helpless as they thought. Alex pushed the idea away. He was just being paranoid. They were almost out. Halfway down the hall, Sam stopped. "Wait," he whispered. He pointed his flashlight at a door they hadn't noticed before, slightly ajar. It was different from the others, thicker, maybe made of metal. A faint draft came from it, carrying a colder, damp smell. "What's that?" Jamie asked, her voice shaking now. "Basement, maybe," Alex said. He didn't want to check. They had the money, but something about the door pulled at him. What if there was more cash down there, or something valuable? Greed tugged at his fear, making him hesitate. Sam, always curious, stepped closer. Could be another safe, or storage. Jamie grabbed his arm. "No way, we're leaving." But Sam was already pushing the door open. It groaned on rusty hinges, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. The air from below was chilly, like stepping into a freezer. Alex shone his flashlight down. The beam caught glimpses of concrete walls, cobwebs, and shelves lined with shapes they couldn't make out. "Let's check quick," Alex said, his voice low. 2 minutes. "Then we're gone." Jamie shook her head, but followed. She didn't want to be left alone. They crept down the stairs, each step creaking louder than the last. The basement smelled of damp earth and metal, At the bottom, their flashlights showed a large room, maybe the size of the living room upstairs. Shelves lined the walls, holding jars that glinted in the light. At first, they thought it was food, pickles, or preserves. But when Jamie got closer, she froze. "These aren't food," she said, her voice tight. The jars held tool, screwdrivers, pliers, small knives, all rusted and packed in some kind of liquid. Why would he keep this stuff like this? Sam moved to another shelf. "Look at this." His flashlight lit up ropes, coiled neatly, and chains hanging from hooks. One chain had a shackle attached, the kind used for cuffs. The floor beneath it had scratches, deep and uneven, like someone had clawed at the concrete. Alex's stomach twisted. What the hell is this place? He stepped back, his flashlight catching something else, a workbench in the corner. On it was a notebook, leather-bound and worn. He opened it, flipping through pages filled with tight, neat handwriting. The words were hard to read in the dim light, but some stood out. Interrogation, resistance, silence. One page had a list of names, some crossed out with red ink. Next to the notebook was a photo, old and faded, showing Mr. Harlan with a group of soldiers. One face had a red X drawn over it, just like in the safe upstairs. "Guys, this is bad," Alex said, closing the book. "He wasn't just a soldier. I think he did stuff. Bad stuff." Jamie's eyes widened. "Like what?" Before Alex could answer, a thump came from upstairs, heavy, deliberate, like a boot on the floor. Then another. The three of them froze, flashlights snapping off as if by instinct. The darkness swallowed them. Jamie grabbed Alex's arm, her nails digging in. Sam backed against the wall, his breath shallow. "He's awake," Alex whispered. They listened. Footsteps, slow and steady, moved across the floor above, then stopped. Silence again, but worse. It felt like the house was holding its breath. "We need to move," Sam said, barely audible. They crept up the stairs, trying not to make a sound. The metal door was still open, but when they reached the top, it felt different. The air was colder, the silence deeper. They stepped into the hallway, flashlights off now, feeling their way in the dark. The back door they'd come through was just past the kitchen. They could make it. But as they reached the kitchen, Alex noticed something. The back door was shut tight. He was sure they'd left it cracked open. He tried the handle. Locked. Not just the knob, there was a deadbolt. Now, one they hadn't noticed before. "How?" Jamie whispered, panic creeping into her voice. Alex didn't answer. He didn't know. They backed away from the door, moving toward the living room. Their shoes scuffed softly on the floor, and every sound felt too loud. Then, a voice cut through. The dark, deep, calm, and cold. "You shouldn't be here." They spun around. Mr. Harlan stood at the far end of the hallway, near the stairs. His eyes were milky, unseeing, but his head was tilted, like he was listening. In his hand, he held a heavy wooden cane, gripping it like a club. His face was calm, almost blank. But there was something else there, a smile, faint and wrong. Asterisk. The air in the hallway seemed to thicken as Mr. Harlan's voice echoed in their ears. "You shouldn't be here." His words were calm, almost soft, but they carried a weight that made Alex's skin crawl. The old man stood at the end of the hallway, his milky eyes staring blankly ahead, his head tilted slightly, like he was listening to every breath they took. The heavy cane in his hand tapped the floor once, a dull thud that felt like a warning. Alex's flashlight was off, but the faint moonlight from a window cast shadows across Mr. Harlan's face. He was old, maybe 70, but his shoulders were broad, his grip on the cane steady. He didn't look weak, not like they'd imagined. "Move," Alex hissed, grabbing Jamie's arm. Sam was already backing toward the living room, his sneakers scuffing softly on the worn carpet. They stumbled into the room, hearts pounding, trying to stay quiet. The living room was cluttered with old furniture, a sagging couch covered in plastic, a coffee table with chipped edges, and a bookshelf stuffed with dusty books. The air smelled stale, like no one had opened a window in years. Jamie ducked behind the couch, curling up to make herself small. Her hands shook as she clutched the bag of money, the bills crinkling softly. She kept thinking about her mom, lying in a hospital bed, needing medicine they couldn't afford. That's why she was here. But now, she just wanted to run. Sam slipped into a narrow closet by the wall, easing the door shut. It was cramped, filled with old coats that smelled of mothballs. He held his breath, trying not to sneeze from the dust. His mind raced. He'd done stupid things with Alex before, stealing bikes, breaking into a junkyard, but this was different. This felt wrong. Alex crouched by the window, tugging at the latch. It wouldn't budge. The frame was painted shut, layers of old paint sealing it tight. He glanced back toward the hallway. Mr. Harlan was moving now, slow and deliberate. Tap, tap. His cane hit the floor with each step. He stopped at the edge of the living room, head tilted again. "I hear you," he said, his voice low and steady. "Three of you? I know every sound in this house, every creak, every breath." Alex's stomach dropped. He pressed himself against the wall, trying to think. The guy was blind. How could he know where they were? But the way Mr. Harlan moved, confident and calm, made Alex's skin prickle. He remembered the basement, the chains, the knives, the notebook. This wasn't just an old man. He was something else. Harlan stepped into the living room. His cane swept across the floor, brushing against the edge of the coffee table. Clunk. He paused, listening. Jamie bit her lip to keep from whimpering. She could see his boots from behind the couch, scuffed and heavy, like work boots. He was closer. Now, maybe 10 feet away. "I lost my sight in the war," he said, almost like he was talking to himself. "But I learned to see with my ears. Every step you take, every whisper, it's loud to me. You can't hide." He swung his cane suddenly, hard and fast. It smashed into a lamp on a side table. Crash! The room got darker, the lamp's bulb shattering on the floor. Jamie flinched, her elbow brushing the couch. The plastic crinkled faintly. Mr. Harlan's head snapped toward the sound. "There you are," he said, stepping closer. Jamie's heart felt like it would explode. She pressed her hands over her mouth, trying not to breathe. He was right there, just on the other side of the couch. The cane tapped again, inches from her hiding spot. She closed her eyes, praying he'd move away. In the closet, Sam shifted, slightly. Dust tickled his nose. He tried to hold it in, but it was too much. A small sneeze escaped, muffled, but not enough. Mr. Harlan turned toward the closet, his face hard now. No trace of the faint smile. "Got you," he said. He crossed the room in 3 quick steps, faster than they thought he could move. He yanked. The closet door opened. Sam stumbled out, coughing, trying to run. Mr. Harlan grabbed his arm, his grip like a vice. Sam swung a fist, but it was weak, panicked. The old man didn't flinch. He twisted Sam's arm, forcing him to the floor. "Sam," Alex whispered too loud. He clapped a hand over his mouth, but it was too late. Harlan's head tilted toward Alex's voice. He dragged Sam across the room, the boy's sneakers scraping the floor. Sam kicked, but Mr. Harlan was strong for someone his age. He shoved Sam against the wall, holding him there with one hand while the cane pressed against his chest. "You thought I was helpless," Mr. Harlan said, his voice cold. "You thought you could walk into my home?" Jamie peeked from behind the couch, tears in her eyes. She wanted to help, but her legs wouldn't move. Alex crept closer, looking for something, anything to use. A fire poker leaned against the fireplace. He grabbed it, his hands sweaty. "Let him go," Alex shouted, stepping out. Poker raised. Harlan didn't turn, but his grip on Sam tightened. "Drop it, boy, or your friend pays." Alex hesitated. The poker felt heavy in his hands. He didn't know what to do. Sam was gasping, his face red. Jamie finally moved, crawling toward the hallway, hoping to find another way out. Then, a creak from upstairs. Another no. It was the wind. Or was it? The house felt alive, every sound amplified in the dark. Mr. Harlan dragged Sam toward the hallway, toward the basement door. "You'll learn what happens to thieves," he said. Alex followed, poker still in hand, but he kept his distance. Jamie reached the hallway and saw the basement door open again, a black hole leading down. She heard Sam's muffled cries as Mr. Harlan pulled him toward the stairs. They had to do something. Alex motioned for Jamie to follow. They crept after Mr. Harlan, staying low. The basement door loomed ahead, and Sam's struggles grew quieter. They reached the top of the stairs. Just as Mr. Harlan pushed Sam down into the darkness, a thud echoed. Up Sam hitting the concrete floor. Alex gripped the poker tighter. "We have to get him," he whispered. Jamie nodded, tears streaming down her face. They stepped onto the stairs, the creaks deafening in their ears. The basement was pitch black, their flashlights barely cutting through the gloom at the bottom. They saw Sam, slumped against a wall, groaning. He wasn't tied up yet, but Mr. Harlan was there, standing over him, cane raised. And then, a click, the basement door above them slammed shut. Alex ran up the stairs, pounding on it. Locked. They were trapped. The basement door's lock clicked like a gunshot in the silence, sealing Alex, Jamie, and Sam in the cold, damp darkness below. Alex pounded on the door again, his fists aching from the effort, but it didn't budge. The metal was solid, unyielding, and the sound of his hits echoed down the stairs. He stopped, chest heaving, and turned to look at Jamie, who stood frozen at the bottom of the steps. Her flashlight beam shook, casting jagged shadows on the concrete walls. Sam was slumped against the far wall, groaning softly, his face pale in the dim light. "Sam, you okay?" Alex whispered, his voice hoarse. He stumbled down the stairs, the fire poker still clutched in his hand, its weight a small comfort. Sam nodded weakly, rubbing his arm where Mr. Harlan had grabbed him. "He's strong," he muttered. "Too strong. Like he's done this before." Jamie's eyes darted around the basement. The air was heavy, smelling of wet stone and something sharp, like rust or old metal. The shelves they'd seen earlier loomed in the shadows, lined with those strange jars of tool screwdrivers, pliers, knives, all floating in murky liquid. The chains on the wall glinted faintly, their shackles dangling like threads. The scratches on the floor seemed deeper now, more desperate, as if someone had fought to escape. "Where is he?" Jamie whispered, her voice barely audible. She swung her flashlight toward the stairs. But Mr. Harlan was gone. The door was shut, but his absence felt worse than his presence. It was like he was waiting, listening, somewhere in the house. Alex crept over to Sam, helping him stand. "We need to get out of here," he said, glancing at the door above. "That lock, can you pick it?" Sam shook his head, wincing as he moved his arm. "It's a deadbolt. Need a key. My tools won't work." Jamie clutched the bag of money tighter, her hands trembling. "Why did he lock us down here? What's he gonna do?" Alex didn't answer. He didn't want to think about it. The notebook they'd found on the workbench kept flashing in his mind, those words about interrogation and silence, the names crossed out in red. He stepped over to the workbench, his flashlight catching the leather cover again. He opened it, flipping through the pages more carefully this time. The handwriting was neat, almost too neat, like it was written by someone who took their time. One entry caught his eye. June 1983. Subject resisted. Broke after 3 days. Silence secured. Another page. They come for what's mine. They always do. I protected. He was a torturer, Alex said, his voice low. In the war, this guy, he didn't just fight, he broke people. Jamie's face went white. "What does that mean for us?" Before Alex could answer, a soft scrape came from above, like a chair being moved. Then footsteps, slow and heavy, pacing across the floor. Tap, tap, Mr. Harlan's cane. Alex's heart sank. He was up there, waiting. "We can't stay here," Sam said, standing shakily. He limped toward the shelves, looking for anything useful. There's gotta be something we can use. A tool, a weapon. They spread out, searching the basement. The room was bigger than they'd thought, with corners hidden in shadow. Alex found a rusty crowbar leaning against a wall, its tip stained with something dark. He didn't want to know what. Jamie checked the shelves, her hands shaking as she moved jars aside. One tipped over, spilling liquid that smelled like vinegar and rust. She gagged, stepping back. Sam found a small window near the ceiling, barely a foot wide, covered in grime. He stood on a crate to reach it, pushing at the glass. It stuck, he said. Maybe painted shut like upstairs. Keep trying, Alex said. Gripping the crowbar, he moved to the workbench, looking for keys, a hammer, anything. The notebook fell open again, and a loose page slipped out. A map of the house, hand-drawn, with lines marking doors and windows. Some were labeled locked or trapped. Alex's stomach twisted. This wasn't just a house. It was a fortress. The footsteps above stopped. Silence again. Then a new sound, a low, metallic clank, like a latch being opened. Alex froze. What was that? Jamie pointed her flashlight at the stairs. The door was still shut, but the sound came from somewhere else in the basement, a corner they hadn't explored. A faint outline appeared in the wall, a hidden door, barely visible, its edges blending with the concrete. It creaked open, just an inch. He's coming, Jamie whispered. Backing away, Alex gripped the crowbar tighter, moving toward Sam. Get the window open, now. Sam pushed harder, his hand slipping on the grimy glass. It wouldn't move. The hidden door creaked wider, and a shadow moved behind it. Mr. Harlan stepped out, his cane tapping the floor. His face was calm, but his mouth twitched into that faint, wrong smile. You found my secrets, he said, his voice low. Now you stay with them. He moved faster than before, crossing the basement in long strides. Alex swung the crowbar, aiming for his arm. It hit, but Mr. Harlan barely flinched. He grabbed the crowbar, yanking it from Alex's hands like it was nothing. The metal clattered to the floor. Jamie screamed, grabbing a jar and throwing it. It smashed against the wall, glass and liquid spraying. Mr. Harlan paused, tilting his head as if the sound told him exactly where she was. He lunged toward her, cane raised. Sam shouted, "Over here." He kicked a crate, making noise. Mr. Harlan turned, distracted, and Alex tackled him from behind. The old man stumbled but didn't fall. He swung his cane, catching Alex in the ribs. Pain exploded in his side, and he gasped, collapsing. Jamie ran to Sam, helping him push at the window. It cracked open, just an inch, letting in a gust of cold air. "It's too small," Sam said, panic in his voice. Harlan stood, brushing off his coat. "No one leaves," he said. He moved toward the stairs, blocking their only other way out. Alex struggled to his feet, clutching his side. Jamie and Sam backed against the wall, trapped. Then, a thud from above. Something heavy fell. Mr. Harlan froze, listening. Another thud. He turned, heading back to the hidden door, disappearing into the shadows. What was that? Jamie whispered. Alex didn't know. Maybe a trap. Maybe something else. They had a moment. They ran to Sam, who was still at the window. "We can't fit," Sam said, "but maybe we can break it wider." Alex grabbed the crowbar from the floor. He swung at the window frame, chipping away at the wood. Splinters flew, but it was slow work. The basement felt smaller now, the walls closing in, every sound, every creak. Every drip made them jump. They didn't know where Mr. Harlan was, but they knew he'd be back. The basement was a tomb of shadows, the air thick with the stench of rust and fear. Alex swung the crowbar at the window frame again, each hit sending a dull thud echoing through the room. Splinters of old wood chipped away, but the window stayed too small to squeeze through. His arms ached, his ribs throbbing from where Mr. Harlan's cane had struck him. Sweat stung his eyes as he glanced at Jamie and Sam, both pressed against the wall, their faces pale in the dim glow of their flashlights. Jamie clutched the bag of money, her knuckles white. She kept thinking about her mom, the hospital bills piling up, the medicine they couldn't afford. That's why she was here. But now it felt like a mistake she'd never escape. "Alex, hurry," she whispered, her voice trembling. "He's coming back." Sam, still limping from his fall, scanned the basement for anything useful. His flashlight caught the glint of a rusty wrench on a shelf. He grabbed it, gripping it like a lifeline. "We can't wait," he said, his voice low but urgent. "He's playing with us, like a game." Alex paused, the crowbar heavy in his hands. He remembered the notebook, the map of the house with trap written on it. This wasn't just a robbery gone wrong. Mr. Harlan was hunting them, using the house like a maze he'd built himself. The thuds from upstairs had stopped, and the silence was worse. It meant he was listening, waiting. A creak came from the hidden door in the corner, the same door Mr. Harlan had disappeared through. It was still ajar, a sliver of black beyond it. Alex's stomach twisted. "He's there," he whispered. Before they could move, Mr. Harlan stepped out, his cane tapping the concrete floor. Tap, tap. His milky eyes stared blankly, but his head tilted, catching every sound. "You're still here," he said, his voice calm, almost amused. "Good. I like a challenge." Alex tightened his grip on the crowbar. "Stay back," he shouted, stepping in front of Jamie and Sam. Harlan didn't stop. He moved toward them, slow and deliberate, his boots scraping the floor. The cane swung lightly in his hand, like he was testing its weight. "You took what's mine," he said. "You think you can just leave?" Jamie's heart raced. She looked around, desperate. The basement was a dead-end window to small, door locked. Hidden passage unknown. She spotted a metal pipe leaning against a shelf, rusted but heavy. She grabbed it, her hand shaking. "We didn't mean to," she started, but her voice cracked. Harlan's head snapped toward her. "I hear you, girl," he said, stepping closer. "Your fear. It's loud." Sam acted first. He threw the wrench, aiming for Mr. Harlan's head. It missed, clanging against the wall. The old man turned, quick as a snake, and lunged toward the sound. Sam dug behind a crate, but Mr. Harlan was faster. He swung the cane, catching Sam's shoulder. Sam cried out, falling to his knees. Alex charged, swinging the crowbar. It hit Mr. Harlan's arm, hard. The old man grunted, but didn't drop the cane. Instead, he grabbed Alex's wrist, twisting it until the crowbar fell with a clatter. Alex gasped, pain shooting up his arm. He kicked, hitting Mr. Harlan's knee, but the man barely flinched. Jamie ran forward, swinging the pipe. It connected with Mr. Harlan's back, a dull thud. He stumbled, letting go of Alex. "Run!" Jamie screamed, pulling Alex toward the stairs. They scrambled up, Sam limping behind. The basement door was still locked, but they pounded on it, hoping it would give. It didn't. Mr. Harlan was already climbing the stairs, his cane tapping with every step. "You can't run," he said, his voice steady. "This is my house." Alex turned, desperate. He saw a shelf near the door, heavy with jars. He pushed it, muscles straining. It tipped, crashing to the floor. Glass shattered, liquid splashing, tools skittering across the concrete. Mr. Harlan paused, head tilted, listening to the chaos. "Go," Alex yelled. They ran back down, past the mess, toward the hidden door. It was their only chance. The passage was narrow, dark, smelling of mold and earth. Their flashlights barely lit the way, showing rough stone walls and a dirt floor. It felt like a tunnel, not a house. Sam was slowing, his shoulder bleeding where the cane had hit. "I can't," he gasped, leaning against the wall. "You have to," Jamie said, grabbing his arm. She dragged him forward, the bag of money bouncing against her side. The tunnel led to another door, wooden and old. Alex pushed it open, revealing a small room, maybe a storage space. It was cluttered with boxes, old furniture, and a single bulb flickering overhead. No windows, no other exits. Another dead end. They turned, hearing Mr. Harlan's cane in the tunnel. Tap, tap. He was close. Alex shoved a box against the door, but it was flimsy, barely a barrier. Jamie looked around. Frantic, she saw a rope coiled in the corner. Maybe useful, but for what? Sam sank to the floor, clutching his shoulder. He's gonna kill us. He whispered. Double quotes. No, he's not, Alex said, but his voice shook. He grabbed the rope, tying it around the door handle, looping it to a heavy box. It wouldn't hold long, but it was something. More. Harlan's voice came through the door. I can wait, he said. I've waited before. The door rattled as he pushed. The rope held, but barely. Alex looked at Jamie and Sam, their faces lit by the flickering bulb. We fight, he said. No choice. Jamie nodded, gripping the pipe. Sam struggled to his feet, picking up a broken chair. Leg. They stood together, facing the door. The rattling stopped. Silence again. Then a new sound, a low, metallic click, like a lock turning somewhere else in the house. What's he doing? Jamie whispered. Alex didn't know, but the silence felt like a trap. They waited, hearts pounding, listening for the next tap of the cane. The small storage room felt like a cage, its walls pressing in under the flickering light of the single bulb overhead. Alex, Jamie, and Sam stood frozen, clutching their makeshift weapons, a metal pipe, a broken chair leg, and the rusty crowbar Alex had retrieved from the tunnel floor. The silence after the metallic click was deafening, broken only by their shallow breaths and the faint hum of the bulb. The rope tied to the door handle trembled, the knot straining as Mr. Harlan pushed from the other side. They knew it wouldn't hold long. Jamie's hands shook as she gripped the pipe. Her mind kept flashing to her mom, to the hospital room that smelled of antiseptic, to the bill she'd hoped the stolen money would pay. Now, the bag of cash felt like a curse, heavy against her side. She whispered, "What's he doing out there?" Alex didn't answer. His ribs ached, his wrists sore. From Mr. Harlan's grip, he stared at the door, waiting for the next sound. The old man's words echoed in his head. I can wait. I've waited before. This wasn't just a house. It was his domain, rigged with traps and secrets. The map they'd found, the notebook, the chains that all pointed to a man who'd done this before, maybe to others who'd come looking for his money. Sam leaned against a stack of boxes, his shoulder bleeding through his shirt. The chair leg in his hand felt useless to light against someone like Mr. Harlan. We can't stay here, he said, his voice weak. He's gonna come through the door. Alex nodded, scanning the room. It was cluttered with junk, old chairs, a cracked mirror, boxes filled with papers and rusted tools. No windows, no other doors. The air was stale, smelling of dust and mildew. He moved to the boxes, digging through them for anything useful. Papers spilled out, old letters, military forms, more photos with red X over faces. One box held a coil of wire, sharp and thin. He grabbed it, thinking they could use it to slow Mr. Harlan down. The door rattled again, harder this time. The rope creaked, fibers snapping. Jamie backed away, her pipe raised. He's coming, she said, her voice breaking. Alex looped the wire around a heavy box, tying it to another across the room, creating a crude tripwire near the door. If he gets in, he'll trip, he said. It'll give us a second. Sam pushed himself up, wincing. Then what? We're trapped. Before Alex could answer, the door burst open, the rope snapped, and Mr. Harlan stepped through, his cane tapping the floor. Tap, tap. His face was calm, his blind eyes unseeing but his head tilted, listening. The tripwire caught his foot, and he stumbled, just for a moment. It was enough. Now, Alex yelled. He swung the crowbar, aiming for Mr. Harlan's chest. The old man raised his cane, blocking the blow. The impact jarred Alex's arms, but he swung again. Jamie joined in, hitting Mr. Harlan's leg with the pipe. He grunted, staggering back, Sam threw the chair leg, missing but making noise. Mr. Harlan turned toward it, distracted. Alex tackled him, both crashing into the boxes. Papers and tools scattered. Mr. Harlan fought back, his strength unnatural. For his age, he grabbed Alex's throat, squeezing. Alex gasped, clawing at his hands. Jamie swung the pipe again, hitting Mr. Harlan's arm. He let go, and Alex rolled away, coughing. Sam grabbed a box and threw it, hitting Mr. Harlan's shoulder. The old man fell to one knee, his cane clattering to the floor. Run. Jamie screamed. They scrambled past him, back into the tunnel. The narrow passage was dark, their flashlights bouncing wildly. They reached the basement again. The air colder now, the shelves and chains looming like ghosts. The basement door was still locked, but Alex didn't stop to try it. They ran to the small window Sam had cracked open earlier. Alex swung the crowbar, smashing the frame. With splintered glass crack, the hole was bigger now, but still tight. Go, he said, pushing Jamie toward it. She dropped the money bag, squeezing through the gap. Her hoodie caught on a jagged edge, tearing, but she made it outside. Collapsing onto the grass, Sam went next, his injured shoulder making him slow. He grunted, blood smearing the frame as he crawled through. Alex glanced back, hearing footsteps in the tunnel. Mr. Harlan was coming. Alex threw the crowbar at the shelves, knocking more jars down to slow him. He climbed through the window, scraping his arms on the broken glass. Outside, the night was cold, the wind sharp. They ran, stumbling through the overgrown yard toward their car. 2 blocks away, they reached the sedan, piling in. Jamie started the engine, hands shaking. As they sped off, a loud crack split the air. A gunshot, another. The back window shattered. Mr. Harlan stood at the edge of the yard, a pistol in his hand, firing blindly but guided by sound. Sam cried out, clutching his leg. Blood seeped through his jeans. Drive, Alex yelled. Jamie floored it, the car lurching down the street. The gunshot stopped, but Mr. Harlan's figure stayed in Alex's mind, standing in the dark, listening. They didn't stop until they reached the hospital, 30 miles away. Sam was pale, his leg bleeding badly, but the bullet had only grazed him. They lied to the doctors, saying they'd been jumped by a stranger. The police came, asked questions, but the 3 stuck to their story. The money was hidden in the car's trunk, untouched. Weeks passed. They split the cash, enough to pay Jamie's mom's bills, Alex's rent, and Sam's hospital stay. They tried to go back to normal work, sleep, life in Elmwood, but the nightmares didn't stop. Alex woke up hearing the tap of a cane. Jamie saw shadows outside her window, swearing she heard a voice say, "I hear you." Sam moved away, unable to stay in town. One night, Alex got a call. No name, just a number, a voice, low and calm. "I know where you are, blind, but I see." He hung up, hands shaking. Was it Mr. Harlan? Had he found them? The news said Mr. Harlan was gone. His house was empty, doors locked, no sign of him. Some said he left town. Others said he was still out there, waiting. They never stole again, but the house haunted them. Every creak, every shadow, every quiet night they listened, waiting for the tap of his cane.